But yeah, so we're in it. We're talking Red Wings right now. Talking the Vlad Tarasenko contract. Steve Yzerman gets him in the fold. And look, here's how I'm going to start this. Jesus has some interesting numbers, but that's not what you guys want. We're going to do the numbers first, and they're cute and they're good, and they are part of the reason why I like it. But that's not what you guys want. We'll get to that in about 4 minutes. What you guys want. I know what you guys want. What are you laughing at, KG?
I'm watching the master at work. That's all.
There is no master. There is no elite to it.
I know you being you. I'm just saying. Like I'm appreciating it.
No, like this is what the people want. So let's get the stat shit out of the way that no one really cares about. Because if they did, they would kind of be like, yeah, I like the signing, and they would move on. But that's not what they want. What's the numbers?
First of all, top 5 is worst inconveniences for.
Yes.
Worst
inconveniences. Top 5.
Is that on Thursday? Because we're at Feldman tomorrow.
Oh, there's road closures on there?
Oh, yeah.
Somebody better put that.
We are at Feldman tomorrow. We're doing it Thursday?
We'll do it Thursday.
Yeah, Feldman tomorrow.
Ooh, that's good, though. I like that one.
So, David Perron, who is the equivalent of what this signing is to replace, they played in the same amount of games, 76 games. Perron had 17 goals, 30 assists, 47 points, and was minus 12.
But was very good on the power. He did what he was brought here to do.
Yes, he did.
Stabilize the power play.
But one thing that people undervalue about Tarasenko is how big he is. Like, he's 6'1", 219 pounds. Like, that's a big dude for a hockey player. He had 76 games played as well, 23 goals, 32 assists, 55 points, but was plus 13. And you could say the Panthers defense makes that big improvement on the plus minus, but at the same time, it's not going to be at that big where it's 30 plus minus points in differential.
All right, so the numbers are there. And that's cute and that's great, Stick. And I do like it. But I'm just curious about like the cat spot stuff. Yzerman hasn't signed a single substantial free agent in 6 years. This is my problem. That crowd, and there are people at the other network in town that use that because it fits your narrative and it's convenient for you. And you get to say, he hasn't done this in 6 years, and he's been on the job for 6 years. And the bottom line is, when you walk in the door, and you know where I'm going with this, and I don't care because it's factually correct, and I'll go to it every single time. I'm built like that. Franz Nielsen, Abdelkader, and Howard. Right there for you guys. $16 million in cap space, $19 million with Darren Helm. So you want him to walk in the door with no cap space, Cats, and just start writing checks for free agents with cap space that you don't have because you're paying Franz Nielsen $5.5 million. So that's what you want. So that counts in your book. That counts. And I'm never going to get over this, Flannel. I'm not, because of people, be it on the afternoon show here or wherever they want to be, that are going to sit there and say he hasn't done X in 6 years. He hasn't been able to change the tenor. What about all the draft picks I keep hearing about? Yeah, again, do you like Mo Sider? Do you like Lucas Raymond? Because that's the first draft wave that's coming up here. And through all of this, the biggest move to me in free agency so far was a subtraction, not an addition. You get rid of a guy that does the gritty and gets on a bobblehead and replace him with Simon Edvinsson for 25% of the cost. That's a draft pick, everybody. That's the move. And if you can't see that, then I can't help you. I can't help you. Whether you're the afternoon show here, whether you're a show at another network, if you're a chat member right now and you don't understand that, I can't help you.
How many years do you think it takes to fix the cap, though?
To fix a cap?
Yeah.
The cap's been fixed.
Right, but how many years
It took him about 2 years,
okay.
2.5, 3 years.
So then we're 4 years of solid cap space, right? Or 4 years of he could operate the way he was supposed to operate.
Right, but those were the highest paid players, that talent level.
This is senior year.
We were at a talent discrepancy in our prospect pool at that point, too. We literally were in old aging veterans on terrible contracts that you can't move.
All right, let me reset it. Let me reset it for you, too. When he showed up, the most valuable prospect you had was Filip Zadina.
That was a hell of a player.
Where is he still, like...
He's a free agent right now.
He got cut by the Sharks.
Yeah.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Weird.
Walked away.
I get it. Listen, of all sports, hockey is like my least involved in, right? So...
But you do understand logic.
I do understand. That's why I asked. Like, okay, so he did come into salary cap hell.
There is no hockey elite to this. If you can't see that, I can't help you.
He cleared it up in 2 years. So you've had 4 years of free operation, essentially, to get the team where you need to be. And I'm not against Yzerman by any stretch of the imagination, but I had higher hopes than where they are. Like, if you would have told me when we signed Yzerman, hey, in 6 years, you guys...
Based on what were those hopes of, though? Based on what of the situation?
What he did in Tampa Bay. You know, when you can take a team like Tampa Bay and elevate them and get them to
when
where
you
they
walk
need
into
to be.
Steven Stamkos and Victor Hedman,
Kucherov,
what
Are we gonna give him the Ken Holland treatment then?
what were the names that he walked into? Stamkos was there.
Hedman was there. Bishop was there.
Okay, you know who was here?
The backup.
You know who was here? Vasilevsky was there. You know who was here when he got here? Franz Nielsen, Justin Abdelkader, Jimmy Howard.
Who Justin Abdelkader you're still paying, by the way, from
Till
that bad contract.
Spartan Dog.
But go ahead, go on.
No, and this is why I'm asking these questions,
Sure.
though, because I don't go that deep into hockey. You know, I don't know who was where and when. I'm football, basketball, baseball guy mostly, but to me, it seems like he's had enough time, and I think part of
I just gave you the based on
I
what?
understand, but it's more. I was just saying more based on what Brad Holmes has been able to do. You know, and I think that's kind of put the pressure on
Brad
every
Holmes
GM.
took the same approach.
Exactly, but it hasn't taken 6 years.
But it's hockey. It's a little different.
I understand that, but that's my point. Brad Holmes came into salary cap hell. It took him about 2 years to clean it up, but then you started to see major steps forward. And this next year for the Red Wings needs to be that major step forward because they're similar to the Lions a couple years ago, knocking on the door of the playoffs, but weren't quite there. Finished strong, but weren't quite there. And the Red Wings, they didn't finish strong this year, though. So they're not going into this offseason with that uptrend. When you watch the Red Wings last year, at some points we're super ecstatic. Hey, they're going to make the playoffs. I'm calling LCA. Hey, we want to do live broadcasts out front, like all this stuff. And then next thing you know, they lose 10 in a row, and it's like, okay, well, this season's over. It's a joke. And then they bounce back. Oh, they could make the playoffs. It just got to be very weird with what type of team they actually are and how they're going to take that next step. And I think for casuals like me, on the outside, there hasn't been that splash. And maybe that splash isn't there to go get, but I would have liked to see that. I would have liked to see a guy, Patrick Kane, recognizable name, but old-ass name, right?
See, yeah, but Stick, like, here's the deal. No, you can't do that now, by the way, with the Kane thing. People were electric about Kane. Yeah. Electric about him.
I know they were.
He's still a point-per-game player.
Yeah, he
outperformed what I thought he was going to be.
Me too.
I thought we got washed Kane, because when he was in Chicago, the dude was a dog.
I actually don't think he'll repeat what he did last year this year. I actually don't think that. But yet and still, he's a guy that can be dynamic in certain situations, can be dynamic in the power play, is dynamic in overtime and all that kind of stuff. What do you got, Spenny?
Nothing. You got me on the screen while you were talking.
Oh, yeah. But anyway, though, the point of the story is this. See, you can't – here's the issue. Here's what I'm struggling with where the people are with Yzerman. They assume that this is the NFL. Mm-hmm. If you look at it realistically, he is on a Brad Holmes cycle right now. He is. The first wave of draft picks have come, and they're here. And who are they?
Mo Seider,
Luke Raymond. You're about to see Edvinson. You possibly could see more.
All right, pause.
Sorry.
So that's the first wave.
Yeah.
They don't show up and play the next year.
You got to crawl before you can walk.
That's just the way that it works in the NHL
one point
draft.
You were complaining that they couldn't win a face-off. They couldn't even do that.
Right. 3 years ago, they were one of the worst face-off teams in the league. You can't fix everything, man. You can't. And the reason that it takes longer is because it's a different sport.
That's fine. It's fair. But how many years are you going to give them? Jesus and you, Neil.
Until there's regression.
Okay, and that's fair.
Which there has been no regression under Steve Yzerman. Show it to me.
That's fair.
Anybody?
Nope.
Anybody? In Jesus's in your Gen Z world, where you're all about progression.
So essentially, you're giving Yzerman a decade. You're giving him 10 years because if they win, if they get into the playoffs and lose this year, that's progression. If they get into the playoffs the year after that, win a series, that's progression. Then they go 2 series. If it takes
He's done
long,
nothing
you're
to show
potentially
you.
giving Yzerman 10 years.
Sure. Why? I mean, if you keep showing the progression.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I'm giving him 10 years.
Mistake.
Okay.
I'm completely comfortable because Well, one thing, Neil hit the nail on the head with the NFL, the NHL comparison. NFL players come up right away. They contribute most of the time at some point in their rookie season if they're a high draft pick. The high draft picks still take 2 to 3 years on average in the NHL. So you're only seeing the first wave of prospects. But what you're seeing as a casual is that you don't know is Steve Yzerman has built the second best farm system in the NHL as a team who is on the cusp of making the playoffs. And usually those don't go hand in hand with each other because you're seeing the prospect growth on the roster and that hasn't even hit the roster yet. And we're these levels.
I mean, that's great, but we want to win at some point. And listen, I was in Grand Rapids when the Griffins won the Calder Cup or whatever the hell it is, and it was a big celebration. So having a great minor leagues team is awesome. Doesn't mean a damn thing to me as a Red Wings fan.
It does if he's committed to the youth movement and that's how he wants
You're
to
going
build.
to see.
Stick, I'm with you on that. I don't give a shit about that stuff either. But all I know
who's
is
on the team.
But all I know is like those guys that are there are good.
Yeah,
they're good. And again, this isn't the NFL. Sam Laporta of hockey doesn't get drafted and then show up in October and be one of the best at his position in the NHL. That doesn't happen to anybody not named Connor McDavid.
Yeah.
Or Connor Bedard.
And it's just tangible results as compared to like the Tigers who are doing the youth movement. At least with the Red Wings, there are tangible results with your young players.
And they're insulated.
And I think that's the best point Neil could have made. Yeah. Like, until there's regression, just shut the hell up. And it's really that simple.
You can't deny that. And like Catspot, here's where I don't understand. Detroit has not made significant progress with Yzerman. And it's not just Cats that says that. It's a lot of other people that say it. And do you not watch?
Right.
Again,
like 2 years ago, we weren't even talking playoffs.
You want to know the 10 highest paid players on the Red Wings when Yzerman showed up his first year on the job? Dylan Larkin. Okay, that's fair. Sense. Franz Nielsen, Justin Abdelkader, Jimmy Howard, Darren Helm, Anthony Matha, Trevor Daley, Jonathan Bernier, Patrick Nemeth, and who else was on here? Luke Glendening was up there. Adam, come on.
Ooh, here's an interesting stat that was just put into chat. Yzerman took over Tampa Bay in 2010. Guess when their first cup was? 2020. 10 years.
Okay. So you're willing to give GMs a decade?
Yeah.
In hockey, yes.
In hockey, yes.
Okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
Why don't they sign him to a 10-year contract then?
I don't know.
I don't know what his contract is.
I don't even know what his contract is.
Okay.
Does he even have one? Does he just he's done when he doesn't show up anymore?
Hockey is, you don't fix hockey teams overnight.
Yeah.
So that and I can't relate to people that don't understand that. I can't understand. Like, we'll just have to agree to disagree.
Yeah.
And shout out Chris for putting that in chat for me. I didn't say his name, so
you cannot compare these two sports. And I'll give you a cross compare.
Wait,
I'll do my best to help the people.
Before we get to that, just to go back to the conversation we had about when he landed there and had all these pieces, and that's why he was able to make them. So they were already years beyond what he came in here for the Red Wings, right? And it still took him 10 years, even landing with all those pieces? Because you guys are telling me he landed in a better position, and you're also telling me it took him a decade.
I would say this.
So with the worst position, are we talking now 12, 14 years?
That's a great question, because I think he showed up in Tampa right about where he is with the Wings now.
Okay.
About year 6-ish. Yeah. He had a couple of dudes in place.
So now we're talking 16 years?
Well, I mean, that's the way that it worked.
Jesus.
I don't think 16 years. Yeah. I think that's a little aggressive because he still had to wait for his
words, because like I said, you guys are explaining this to me, and so I'm listening and I'm hearing two different things.
I'm gonna make the comparison for you.
He landed in a good position, but it also took him 10 years. So is that good or is that bad?
I don't think it will take 16 years. I think the comparison to Tampa is he did have Vasilevsky and Bishop, but if I'm not
people in the chat
incorrect,
said he drafted Vasilevsky.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Okay. Bishop was in the AHL. He had to wait a couple years for Bishop to be ready. Then Vasilevsky came. He drafted him in his first draft, I believe, maybe second.
Oh,
and
wow.
then
kind of like a Mo Sider type pick?
Yeah, kind of, just a little bit. And then now you compare it to Augustine, you compare it to Kosa. They are 2 to 4 years away from competing, which I think, so by the time we're looking at 10 years, we might be looking at 12. I don't think 16, though. 16.
Listen, if it results in championship, I'll wait 16, right? Like, if we can get a ship, I'll wait 16.
Yeah, I just don't understand it. But
damn,
I'll wrap it up.
Where does it end, though? That's what you can wrap it up, but that's what I want you guys to think about. When does the rope stop? And I think you brought up when the progression stops.
When the progression stops.
And that's
It's
fair.
very simple.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
It's very
It's tough
simple.
to argue that. And anybody who does is an idiot.
But like the people in the chat, if Brad Holmes missed the playoffs his first 6 years, would he have been fired?
But they just
Sam
explained.
Laporta doesn't get drafted and then have a 1,000-yard season 6 months later.
Yeah, you just
in the
explained that to
NHL.
me, and it made sense.
That doesn't happen in the NHL.
Yeah.
So again, if you can't understand that, then you can't be saved. You don't want to be saved.
Yeah.
Like
My bad, Spin. I had you muted. What you say?
No, I was just saying you can't compare the sports at all.
And I'll try real quick before we right off here. I'll try to give that to you here. Trajan Langdon. Imagine Trajan Langdon walking into the Pistons situation and being over the cap.
Well, that's what Weaver did.
That's what walking into the Red Wings situation was like.
Yeah.
Imagine the Pistons in their form right now with no cap space.
Yeah, it's tough.
And no prospects.
And no Cade.
No Cade
Right.
Cunningham.
No Cade.
Yeah, that's tough.
And no Ivy.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go with that.